Hi, Mystery Recapped here, and it's actually me this time. Thanks everyone for all the love in the comments that got me another crack at this. Please support the video if you want me to keep doing it. Watch it, like it, tickle its taint, exhume your ancestors and blow their mind with it. You know how YouTube works. Anyway, thank you, for real. This movie's called Night Raiders. The movie is set in a dystopian future in 2043, where war and environmental collapse have led to the near-complete abandonment of cities and the rise of a totalitarian military dictatorship. Minors are not allowed to roam freely under its rule, and government forces pursue them relentlessly. They are captured and sent to federal academies, where they are brainwashed into obedience and transformed into devoted soldiers for the oppressive regime. Next, we meet a Cree woman named Niska and her 11-year-old daughter, Waseese. They live a nomadic life, constantly moving from place to place in the woods to keep Waseese from being captured by government forces. One morning, they are out hunting for food when Waseese spots a bird and murmurs a chant as if trying to communicate with it. Even the bird looks at her like that's a racist stereotype. Her mother soon arrives and asks why she didn't kill the bird, to which Waseese replies that she was listening to it. The two continue moving through the woods when all of a sudden, Waseese's foot snaps into a bear trap, leaving her severely injured. Niska quickly rushes to free her from the trap and wraps the wound with a cloth in an attempt to stop the bleeding. She then carries her daughter back to their shelter, which turns out to be an old abandoned bus. That night, while Niska is tending to her daughter, she suddenly hears strange noises coming from outside. She then wakes Waseese, and the two step out with weapons in hand. To their surprise, it turns out to be a government surveillance drone used to locate people and identify minors in hiding. Niska thus quickly shoots down the drone with her rifle, but the thought that it may have already detected Waseese's presence worries her. Without hesitation, she sets their shelter on fire and decides to move on before more drones arrive. Next, their mother and daughter trek through forests and wade across rivers in search of a new hiding place. They then row a small boat for an entire night and day until they finally reach the outskirts of a town. Before entering the town, Niska covers Waseese's face to hide the fact that she is a child, hoping to avoid drawing any unwanted attention. Unfortunately, in this world, midgets are extinct, and she's going to draw a lot of attention. Later, they observe that the town is in utter disarray, its economy shattered by years of colonization. Food is extremely limited, and the population depends on meager rations dropped by government drones. Over the loudspeakers, announcements warn that hiding minors is a serious crime, and people are encouraged to report any suspicious behavior. The broadcasts also state that the federal academy now accepts children as young as 4, and all the minors must be reported immediately to the nearest academy intake bureau. As the mother and daughter continue searching for a safe place to hide, they suddenly come across a man who immediately recognizes that Waseese is a child. Instantly, Niska raises her gun to threaten him, but the man quickly calms her down and calls over his son, Trey, to show that he also has a child. The man is visibly relieved, as he had thought until this moment that his child was the only one left roaming free. Recognizing their shared situation and the need for mutual protection, the group decides to stick together and look out for one another. Later, the man leads the mother and daughter to his hiding place, a secluded spot where they can finally rest. Niska soon falls asleep, but Waseese decides to slip outside and roam around. She quickly notices Trey, who invites her to hang out. The two begin exploring the area together and soon come across a fallen drone, which alarms Waseese. Trey, however, reassures her that the drone has been broken and lying there for a long time, so there's no reason to panic. However, Waseese, who possesses a mysterious supernatural ability, hears a sound coming from inside the drone. She asks Trey if he can hear it and insists that the drone is still breathing. At this moment, the drone suddenly springs to life and begins moving, causing both children to panic. Niska rushes in and strikes the drone, finally bringing it down, but she worries that government troops might now be alerted to their presence. She quickly takes Waseese inside a nearby shed for safety, while Trey sets off to search for his father. Unfortunately, by the time Trey finds his father, it is already too late, since the state troops have arrived. The father lies, claiming his son is 18. He's got that Milanakis thing. But the soldiers use a special device to determine his true age and discover he is only 15. This means they are legally required to take him, as children under 18 fall under state protection. Despite the father's desperate pleas, the soldiers forcibly seize Trey, while Niska and Waseese watch in horror from the shed. Moments later, they hear gunfire in the distance and realize that Trey's father has likely been shot dead. After the authorities leave, the mother and daughter realize that this place is no longer safe and decide to move on. However, Waseese's leg is still in severe pain and clearly requires immediate medical attention. They discreetly roam around the city and soon notice a large digital screen displaying success stories of children who graduated from the Federal Academy. Niska recognizes one of the boys, named Pierre, and tells Waseese that he is a family friend. After evading the soldiers and drones, the duo finally reaches the home of Niska's close friend, Roberta. The woman warmly welcomes them inside and is overjoyed to see them again after such a long time. Later, the adults speak in private, and Niska informs Roberta that her daughter's leg is badly injured and the infection is worsening. Roberta explains that all the clinics are heavily patrolled by government troops, making it impossible to get treatment without being detected. Niska then brings up Roberta's son, Pierre, whom she had seen on the digital screen. Roberta states that Pierre had sent her a picture after his graduation, but they hadn't spoken since. Next, she asks Niska to send her daughter to the Federal Academy as well, believing that at least there she will have a good life, free from poverty and constant danger. She explains that Pierre now lives in the capital city, Emerson, which is fully equipped with all the necessary facilities. However, Niska is hesitant, knowing that sending her daughter away would mean she might never see her again. The next morning, Niska wakes to strange noises and is horrified to see government soldiers outside, inspecting and questioning everyone. Panic sets in, and Roberta warns her that the soldiers will come inside to search as well. A desperate Niska racks her brain for a way to hide Waseese, but Roberta insists there is no way out. To make matters worse, Waseese is in extreme pain in her leg and running a high fever. Seeing no other option, Roberta urges Niska to hand over her daughter so that at least she can get proper medical treatment. So, with a heavy heart, Niska hugs her daughter one last time before leaving the house. She soon approaches the soldiers and alerts them that there's a minor inside who's sick. Once she is alone, the weight of guilt overwhelms her and she breaks down in tears. The scene then jumps 10 months later, where we see Niska waking up alone in an abandoned apartment. She walks to the balcony and observes drones flying overhead, dropping rations for the townspeople. Later, she heads to work, and we see that she now earns a living by selling berries in the town. She has also formed a close friendship with a man named Randy, who seems to genuinely care for her. Later, Niska visits the academy grounds to leave flowers and dolls for her daughter, but soon breaks down in tears while missing her. When she returns home, she learns that the government soldiers have arrested several people who had attacked the Federal Academy to steal the children for child trafficking. The scene then cuts to the academy, where we see Waseese training intensely alongside the other kids. It is revealed that selection day is only a week away, and the chosen children will be sent to Emerson to enroll in the most elite academy. In the next scene, Niska meets Randy, who explains that he is connected with a man who can create fake citizenship for the state of Emerson. This will allow them to sneak into the city and live a decent, comfortable life. Randy even reveals that he has already paid for Niska's ID and invites her to run away from the hardships and poverty of her current life. Niska is hesitant at first, but Randy persuades her by reminding her that moving there would finally allow her to see Waseese again. The scene then cuts to Waseese at the academy, where we learn that she is often bullied by the other children, who call her savage and bush girl and clanker whisperer because she used to live in the woods. Determined to escape, Waseese is secretly planning her getaway and has even drawn a detailed map of the facility to help her find a way out. That night, Niska is seen sleeping outside the Federal Academy. She soon wakes up and decides to leave, but suddenly notices a horse in the distance, which shocks her. She cautiously approaches the horse and wonders where it came from. Just then, she spots a group of people in the distance who have kidnapped children from the academy and are sneaking away, believing them to be child traffickers. Niska immediately tries to stop them, but they overpower her and knock her unconscious. Sometime later, Niska wakes up to find herself in a campsite, which turns out to be a home to a tribe of Cree people. A woman named Ida asks for her name and where she's from, so Niska introduces herself and reveals that she is from, Kiskatchewanak. Niska then asks why they kidnapped those children, but the people refuse to answer her questions. Later, Ida tells her subordinate Leo that Niska Niska might be the guardian savior they've been searching for, and asks him not to let her out of his sight. She also orders another woman subordinate to find out everything she can about Niska. Afterward, Niska joins a group of tribespeople who are celebrating the safe return of a few children. They warmly welcome her into the community, and she's introduced to an old woman who appears to be the leader of this small group. The grandmother reveals that long ago, the tribe was told of a prophecy that someone from the north would arrive to save them. Since Niska comes from the north, the elders and tribes members believe her to be the guardian foretold in the prophecy. However, Niska is skeptical of this claim because that's one lazy-ass prophecy and refuses to trust these people, whom she sees as child kidnappers. Later, Niska talks with Leo and tells him that she wants to leave, but he refuses and prepares a bed for her to sleep in. After some time, Niska wakes up in the middle of the night and goes to the tent where the rescued children are sleeping. She suddenly misses her own daughter and breaks down in tears, just as Ida appears and asks if her child is also at the academy. Niska says that her daughter is 11 years old and was recently taken. Ida is impressed by how she managed to protect her daughter for so long and welcomes her to the tribe. You still can't leave though. The next morning, Leo takes Niska to a meeting with the rest of the group where they explain the dangers of the academy. The children there are completely brainwashed, and Niska must rescue her daughter before she is taken to Emerson, where she will be transformed into someone entirely different. Ida tells Niska that they will help rescue Waseese, but in return, she must carry out her mission of leading the children from the camp to a safe place called Big Stone. Niska argues that Big Stone doesn't exist and is just a rumor, but they assure her that it is real. Regardless, Niska doesn't believe any of this, so she refuses to help them and leaves the camp. However, Ida still believes that Niska is their savior and sends Leo to follow her, hoping he can convince her to come back. That night at the academy, while everyone else is asleep, Waseese makes a daring attempt to escape and manages to slip out of the building undetected. But before she can get very far, a loud siren suddenly blares, throwing her into a state of panic. The security forces quickly arrive to apprehend her, and they lock her away in solitary confinement. Elsewhere, Niska returns to the city and is horrified to see bodies lying along the streets, including those of her neighbors and acquaintances. She is soon found by Randy, who quickly covers her mouth with a cloth and explains that the city's been struck by a deadly virus, which is deliberately released by the government. He warns her that the borders are closing tonight, so they must leave for Emerson immediately. The two then begin their journey and soon come across Roberta, so they decide to take her along as well. Unfortunately, the three are quickly spotted by soldiers conducting a forced evacuation. The soldiers forcibly make them board a bus, claiming the government is taking them to a safe location. Randy thus devises a plan to throw a smoke bomb and make a daring escape from the bus. However, just then, Roberta notices her son Pierre, who is among the soldiers patrolling the streets. She tries to approach him, but the other soldiers refuse and threaten to kill her. Seizing the moment, Randy throws a smoke bomb and he and Niska manage to take down several soldiers and escape the bus. Roberta then approaches Pierre, but to her shock, he doesn't even recognize her and orders her to stay back. When she moves closer, he immediately shoots at her, leaving everyone in stunned horror. He then shoots Randy as well, just cause fuck Randy. But before the situation escalates any further, Leo and his group arrive and shoot Pierre and his comrades dead. Afterward, Niska approaches Randy, who has been shot in the hand, but only sustained minor injuries. She quickly wraps his wound with a cloth and apologizes, admitting that she has changed her mind. She now decides to join the tribespeople so she can rescue her daughter before she's brainwashed like Pierre. Meanwhile, at the academy, a woman approaches Waseese and begins manipulating her. She shows her a video proving how her mother supposedly handed her over to the authorities. She'd have known it was AI if she'd looked at the shadows. This deeply hurts Waseese, as she had thought her mother had gone to grab medicine. Afterwards, she is taken outside for training, where the students are given a task. The fastest person to assemble a weapon will be selected to go to Emerson. A student named Victoria completes the task in 12 seconds, but Waseese shocks everyone by setting a new record, finishing it in just 5.
Woo! Now that's a good little American. Woo!
Next, a disappointed Victoria accuses Waseese of cheating, which enrages the young girl. Waseese storms over to Victoria and begins brutally attacking her, while their teacher watches with amusement. Finally, the teacher stops Waseese and congratulates her, announcing that she will be sent to Emerson the next day, as she has proven to be the best student. That night, Niska, Leo, and a few other tribespeople set out for the academy on their rescue mission. They manage to break in and cleverly outwit one of the guards. Eventually, Niska finds her daughter and tearfully urges her to come with her. Waseese is initially hurt because her mother gave her up, but she cannot stay angry for long and agrees to leave. Unfortunately, their presence has already alerted the soldiers, who begin surrounding the academy grounds with weapons drawn. Soon, the team member notifies Leo that the soldiers have discovered their presence and urges them to leave immediately. Leo tells Niska to get out and reminds her to fulfill her promise of taking the children to Big Stone.
Yeah, I'm still not doing that.
He's then about to be caught by a flying drone, but Niska shoots the drone just in time and saves him. Meanwhile, Waseese returns to her dormitory, waking up all the other children so they can escape as well. She decides to guide everyone out, as she knows the safe way out of the building. Meanwhile, the Cree campsite is also surrounded by government soldiers. The troops demand that the people surrender and begin firing tear gas, but the tribe resists and prepares their rifles. Not long after, Niska, Leo, and the children arrive in a military truck and join them. They initially wonder why the military allowed them to pass the truck without resistance, but soon realize that the government doesn't intend to drive them away, but wants to corner them for a mass slaughter. Moments later, a soldier gives the signal and a swarm of drones approaches the tribe's people, seemingly to kill them. It looks like all hope is lost for the Cree people, but in a shocking turn of events, Waseese begins chanting a spell and somehow communicates with the flying drones to control them. She directs the drones back towards the surrounding soldiers, which terrifies the troops and forces them to retreat in fear. Unfortunately, one of the soldiers tries to shoot her, but Niska protects her daughter, and she gets shot instead. The soldier is immediately shot dead by the tribe's people, and Niska collapses to the ground. The tribe's people begin treating her, and Niska asks her daughter how she did that. But Waseese is just as confused by this balls script as we are, so she says nothing and merely kisses her. As the movie ends, the tribe's people now realize that their guardian savior isn't actually Niska, but her daughter, Waseese.